I'm working now.
1 o'clock, here we go.
All right.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. It is 1 o'clock on the dot. And for those of you who know how these go, we will run these as efficiently as possible right on time. So we're happy to see everyone here today. Thank you very much for traveling to Milwaukee, Wisconsin to be in person for our debate topic selection meeting. It is great to see so many people here, and we're very excited that we get to have this interaction today. Quick introduction for myself. My name is James Weaver. I'm the Director of Performing Arts for the National Federation of State High School Associations. I am the one that oversees this process. The guy in the hallway is Mr. Kyle Mills. He is the guy that actually, and that's why you get all the emails from him. He's the one that makes sure this thing actually happens the way it's supposed to. So if you see Kyle around, please make sure you thank Kyle and give him a hearty congratulations for doing all the work that he does. Okay, so this is supposed to.
Are you running off the tablet or?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not advancing.
Yeah. 1 second. All right, so first, do you mind just pushing back?
Yeah, I can.
First thing I want to ask is when you're in the room, please make sure your cell phone is set to vibrate or silent. What we don't want to have happen is they start dinging off throughout the meeting, especially when our authors who put a lot of work into their papers are doing their good work here. All right. Password. This is the Wi-Fi password for the conference. Use the Wi-Fi network called Hyatt Conference. This is the password, capital H and capital S. Oh, it's working good. Okay. All right. Next thing we have is a review of what we're going to be doing in the next couple of days. As you see, this only has today and tomorrow on it. We'll keep Sunday a surprise for you for a little while. So today, we're right now at the 1 o'clock general opening session, followed by the Marshall subcommittees. And then we have the topic resolutions reviews. And we'll start on tonight. We're just basically, here's what we're going to be having for the review that comes out of subcommittees. Tomorrow, we start at 8:30. But if you want to come down early at 7:30, we'll have a good breakfast for you here at 7:30 that you don't have to pay for. So come and enjoy the food because it's already been paid for. So please eat it. And then we'll start right away at 8:30 with resolution wording reviews. And that's where our topic authors will go and we'll be reviewing the resolutions that will make the next balance. We'll provide lunch tomorrow, and then we'll have the resolution wording continues at 1 o'clock, and we should be done around 3:30 tomorrow afternoon. And then you can enjoy the beautiful city of Milwaukee in the afternoon tomorrow. Any questions on the brief overview for this so far? Great. All right, a special thanks to the staff at Milwaukee High Regency for getting us set up. It's not easy to do this in the middle of a pandemic, and we're running a meeting in the middle of the pandemic, so here we are. And then I also want to point out Mr. Adam Jacoby here, who is our state host, who's going to welcome you guys to Milwaukee in the actual Wisconsin fashion.
On behalf of the High School Forensic Association, one of the oldest of our kind in the country, founded in 1895, we welcome you to Milwaukee, my hometown. And on behalf of the Wisconsin Debate Coaches Association and Stephanie King, who we used to coach together. So we go along with that. Realizing this has been a dream, but Stephanie deserves all the credit for really championing this event.
Yeah, absolutely. So welcome to Milwaukee. If anybody has any questions about the city or events going on or any of that, please feel free to come find me. So tonight our event is at our Milwaukee Public Market. It's about a 13-minute walk from here, depending on your pace, about a half mile. It's kind of a unique space to Milwaukee. The first floor, think of it like a kind of like where there's secret places, a wine bar, that sort of thing, and then we'll be on the second floor conference center. There will be a wide variety of food options tonight. There's some Wisconsin Italian sausage and peppers, and some pesto salad, there's a chicken taco bar. I believe we hit everybody's dietary preferences for the different options, but if anything's missing, please let me know and we will get that handled. And then after dinner, we are having a local improv group come and do a little comedy.
Yeah, the improv person, Michelle Gilliam, started Improv Milwaukee just a little over a year ago. She had found the improv community to be toxic, and so she started her own business as an answer to that. And so, as a former student of mine, and as somebody who has lived in Boston and done improv all over the country. And she's also mindful of the amount of improvisational reaction that we engage upon in debate. And so she will be testing our mic with that. And I know there's at least one person in the room who did comedy sports in the past. And so she was very active at our high school as well. So that should be a fun way for us to engage with one another, especially as we start to partially emerge from COVID and everything. So hope you all enjoy that.
Thank you, everybody. All right, it's my pleasure now to introduce the wording committee for the NFHS. I will just kind of say the names. If you guys want to stand up, be recognized in the wording committee, so you know who you'll be working with for the next couple of days. So our chair of the wording committee, Nicole Cornish. From Illinois, Eric Odo. Pennsylvania, who's joining us virtually due to some family issues, we have Dr. Clayton Mooney. In Kansas, we have Dustin Remy. From Oregon, we have Jennifer Lasser. Arkansas, Colton Gilbert. From Washington, Sam Norrington. It's going to be the next few days as they'll be running, facilitating the marshal subcommittees, and then obviously the wording committee day tomorrow. So now it's our time to find out who everyone else is in this room. What we're going to do is, because we have a good amount of people in here, I'm just going to point and we'll go around the room, just your name and your state, and just kind of what you do in very brief terms, like a 4-word component to that. So here we go. Let's start with Jeff.
Jeff Stutzman, Indiana, coach speech and debate at Concord High School.
Great, thank you.
Jeff Pope, Wyoming, coach also debate at Chinese High School.
Michael Storks, I'm from Wyoming. I'm retired.
Jennifer Adams, I'm from Big Spring, Texas. I coach speech and debate. I'm the other half of this.
I'm the lesser half of that, and of course, coach speech debate and teach history at Big Spring High School.
Anna Riggins, I'm the state director for the Texas University Interscholastic League at the University of Texas in Austin. And I also have the privilege of chairing the NFHS Speech, Debate, Theater, and Academics Committee.
And she's amazing at it. So you need anything for Jana, just let her know. All right, Andrew.
I'm here with the hospital administration.
Chris Dixon, Texas. I'm the coach at Hopewell High School.
Sir, California. I coach at Lowell High School.
Mike Letty, I represent the National Catholic Friends of Peace. I'm also from Illinois. Speech and debate for 45 years and now.
Wow. Greg Valentine, Assistant Executive Director of Fine Arts at Kansas.
Mike Harris, Director of Speech debate at Wichita Southeast, Kansas.
Pam McComas, retired. But still active.
Very active. Pure people. Right.
Ruth Kay, I coach speech and debate at Detroit Country Day in Michigan. And I've been attending these meetings since probably longer than some of you were born.
Ryan Neerman, I coach at Gross High School in Michigan.
My name is Kyle Mills and I work at NFHS. Steve Clemens, I direct the speech and debate program in Saratoga High School, representing California.
Janela Bruns, Wisconsin, and I work for Varsity Performing Arts. Susan McLean from Oregon, and I was a teacher for 42 years, coach for 47, and I'm now a state legislator from Oregon.
Adam Jacoby, I'm also on the NFHS Speech Debate Theater Committee with the amazing Chair Jim.
Dara Davis from DC. I'm the program manager for Washington.
I'm Laura Nicole, and I work at the National Speech and Debate Association.
Matt Good from Missouri. I coach at Lee Summit West High School.
Stephanie King, I coach here. I'm the debate coach at Rufus King High School.
My name is Candace Williams. I'm the assistant director of the honor committee.
I'm Lauren Ivy. I am the delegate for the NDCA and also the delegate for the Great State. And I coach at Ultra High School.
Elizabeth Oregon, I'm the director of debate at Limerick South in Illinois, and I am also representing Bradford's paper.
Marley K. Lowe, my pronouns are she or they. I am an NSTA fellow. I just retired as AFA national rep, and I assistant coach at Sumner Academy, so Kansas.
I'm Jeffrey Miller. I coach at Merit School in Atlanta, Georgia.
Abby Trimmer. I also coach Merit School in Atlanta, Georgia.
Awesome.
I'm Harry Yu from Texas. I coach speech and debate.
Nathan Woodars, Rosemont High School in Minnesota. I assist him.
He is.
Fort Sylvester. I am the immediate past president of the Minnesota Debate Teachers Association, for whatever that's worth. Head coach debate and the lowly assistant coach for speech at Rosemont High School, and I practice law.
Rachel Bellman. I'm the head debate and co-head speech coach at Farmington High School in Minnesota. Cheryl Kasmer, director of debate at Lexington High School in Massachusetts.
Darren Meyer, St. Andrews Episcopal School, Mississippi, coach speech and debate, and recently retired from the wording committee.
I'm from Truman State University, Missouri, and I'm the college advisor to the NFHS Speech, Debate, and Theater Committee.
And Kevin also makes sure that we operate fully in the background of everything. So. All right. Couple things. We do encourage you to do things on social media if you want to communicate with people out there, professional, as we have those conversations. So a couple of things when we start talking about the policy topic as we get through the weekend. There's three things we want to keep in mind as our goal. One is we want to make sure the topic stays student first and student centered. It's very important. The next thing we want to do is make sure they're balanced resolutions. So we have a good balance between after the thing we're going to be doing. And third, we want to make sure that we have relevant topics. One thing that this committee has been able to do very well over the course of the last 94 years is keep topics very relevant as we go through policy debate. So speaking of relevant topics, here we are. So we have China, climate change, global geopolitical crisis with emerging technologies, global health security, Latin America, Russia, treaties, United Nations peacekeeping, United Nations standing army, and women's rights. So these are the topics we'll be discussing over the course of the next few days. We have posted documents all over on the website. Kyle's done a great job of giving us, so hopefully you visited those pages. All that information is very important. We know it's a lot of information, especially if you're a first-time attendee, but it's very important information, so if you have a chance to review that. If not, you do have about a 5-minute break between now and the Marshall subcommittees to go ahead and review that information. So be ready for that. A couple of good things to have on there is a delegate and attendee list. We do put that out on the public website just so everyone knows who is at this meeting. It's a bit for transparency. Also, it helps you make connections while you're here at the meeting. So check out that attendees list. Make sure you can connect with who's all here. And there is a wealth of knowledge in this room that I just think is unparalleled, in my opinion. It's amazing who's here. And hopefully in the next few days, you'll be able to make connections and really discover how much knowledge is sitting in this room right now. The Marshall Subcommittee purpose document is also there as to why we have the Marshall subcommittees. This would be something that we've reviewed in our first time attendees. And so it's there. And also you have it for Sunday is in there as well. So we have one piece of business to do here. This happens every year at this meeting prior to the school year starting. So we have to actually ratify the topic that we'll be discussing for this year. So what the topic now is resolved, the United States federal government protection of water resources in the United States. Everyone has an option to vote here. So we're going to take a vote to officially ratify it before we start the next process. So all in favor of ratifying the resolution as stated on the screen, please raise your hand. Great. Any opposed to ratifying this, please raise your hand. That's always a good sign. Okay, so this will be the topic resolution officially for 2021-2022 as we begin the school year. All right, one thing we do want to say is Dr. Rich Edwards, who works with us on policy topics, he writes a publication called Policy Debate Quarterly. We have it available out in the front. And my Google thing's going to go off because every time I say Rich's name, it thinks I'm talking to it. So we do have it out front if you want to peruse what it is. This is the pricing structure for that. And if you want to take some home with you, we have some too. All right, topic introductions. So this is the fun part here. What we're going to do is you'll see everybody has a slide like this. And when your slide comes up, we're going to ask that the topic author comes to the front of the room. Every topic author will be given 2 minutes to talk about their paper. Why the 3 subjects we listed before about students first, being relevant, and being balanced is important for the topic. We give you 2 minutes, so there's a timer for that. Kevin's got it right there, and when the timer goes off, even if you're mid-sentence, there we go. So the reason why is we just have a lot of moving parts here. All right, so we're going to start off with the topic of China. So Christopher Dixon.
2 minutes include the walking.
No.
Sans walking. Yeah.
Just joking. Hello, everyone. I'm Christopher Dixon. I'm the author of the China topic, specifically on U.S. and the People's Republic of China, focusing more on the strategic competition of the two countries and what that means. There's no doubt that we've been watching the Olympics, or many of us have. And if you were to Google it today, dealing with the U.S. and China Olympics, you would see first United States in their news source says that we're winning because we're winning the total medal count as of today, 98-79. But if you look at some news agencies or some news sources from the China's perspective, you'll see that China is winning because they have 36 golds to the United States 31. And that topic is about the Olympics at all. But what I'm telling you is that everything that we do in politics is strategic in nature. And the reason why I chose this topic is because students, if you were to Google the term strategic competition, it's a term that is being utilized to propel businesses, propel growth within a community. And so that's one of the reasons why I chose the People's Republic of China, is because the United States had a relationship with China underneath the Obama administration. However, it completely changed. The last time we debated the China topic, it was under the Obama administration, but under the Trump administration, the way that the Trump administration chose to deal with China was more of an American first type mentality. The policies were inconsistent and incoherent. And so it brings us to today, in which we're dealing with a strategic competition. In fact, the United States Congress introduced a bill dealing with strategic competition of 2021 that was introduced by the Senate, but it was failed to being taken up by the House of Representatives. But it's important that we understand from a student's perspective how important it is that we have a strategy in dealing with China. It's not competition. Let me my 2 minutes.
That's your time off.
Thank you.
Climate change.
All right, I'm Melissa Corrigan. I am not the author of the topic paper. Dr. Brett Bricker is. And Dr. Bricker, you know that both him and I feel very strongly about this issue. So the way that I kind of think about a climate change resolution is how have we not had one yet? This is the most.
Sorry. Maybe.
An extra 15 seconds.
Yes, we do.
So this is possibly the most relevant thing that any of our debaters can discuss. And the thing that I like about a climate change topic is it appeals to novices. We know that that is very important after a severe recruiting challenge during COVID for many of us. So I think it's especially important to prioritize topics that will appeal to novices at this point in time. It also has a level of complexity that is critical for our most advanced debaters to get the intellectual challenge that we need. Another thing that I like about the climate paper is that it's very balanced in its approach. So one thing that Dr. Bricker did is he talked about having AFs use specific mechanisms as required by the resolution, so that it's not just, is this a good or a bad idea? It's shoulds or sticks. Should we use economic incentives or should we use punishments? Last reason that I really, really like the climate topic is that it is both international and domestic in scope. Obviously, climate change affects everyone, but there is also a robust debate on what we should do about the situation. So I know this governing body has had debates over international actors. I think a domestic climate resolution should be able to satisfy both parties. And I think we would get some really great debates over possibly the most important topic I could think of. Thank you.
Global geopolitical crisis, emerging technologies. We have a myriad of authors that could speak on
this. Smart. All right. I'm with South Southeast. As global leaders navigate one of the least stable eras in modern political times and international relations, the United States and other countries are in a geopolitical crisis that requires immediate action. The question is, why are we here? And the quick response is that U.S. foreign and how we as a country interact with the rest of the world is an issue that needs to be discussed. And U.S. government and global leaders are right now trying to confront the issues, these geopolitical threats. Underlying this is a question of isolationism or engagement in the modern world. And how can students today become engaged to help secure peace for future generations and avoid this? Whatever side of the political aisle you sit on, there can be no disagreement that competing policies exist for discussion on this resolution. And we've chosen the three largest global issues from emerging technologies that threaten not just the United States, but every country in the world, and are the foundation of current discussions involving geopolitical superpowers today. Number one, January 2020, the Brookings Institute concluded that whatever country leads the world in technology investments in artificial and technology will control the rest of the century. Brookings points out that technological leadership and digital investment are key. Two, biotechnology. With the COVID Delta variant and public resistance in the United States to masking and vaccinations, and as vaccine deployment is part of foreign policy discussions, we need to create a global framework to address challenges in the biotech industry, addressing ethical dilemmas in genetic sequencing and creating global standards for protecting research from industrial espionage. And three, cybersecurity. With recent cyber attacks on the United States, ransomware payments, and Bitcoin seizures by the US government, everything in our way to attack, from healthcare, energy, aerospace, and defense, banking, and economic security, all aspects of our life are at stake. There are three supporting reasons that we think that this resolution is important. One, timeliness. Two, the accessibility to resources and the resolution's incorporation of both policy and critical perspectives necessary to meet the needs of all circuits, the critical value of the discussion.
Wow, right on the dot.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Global health security.
So obviously, we've already been talking several times here about the pandemic. We're looking at how this affects our international relations between the global north and the global south. In particular, there's been a long time presumption in the diplomatic world that pandemics would start in the global south and threaten us in the global north. What our paper hopefully gets at is that is obviously not necessarily something that's going to happen. COVID indicates. So we are looking at basically how to treat the relations between the global north and the global south, and how that deals with our global health security.
Some of the things that we think are important for students to be asking themselves is the question, how does this relate to me in a more global sense? We all know how it relates to us in a domestic sense because we've all lived through the pandemic. But as one of the largest international questions that will face us in years going forward, we believe that through the research that we presented in the paper, this has significant international critical perspective, as well as from a policy perspective. We believe that the question is a balanced question, that it actually asks the critical question both from an essential issue for the topic as well as from a literature-based question for the topic. So there are ways that students can address this. It also asks students to contemplate how this question addresses them personally, as well as how it would address us from a future perspective. We believe that this topic will allow students to look at the international implications of this issue, and we think that it would be a good topic for kids to debate because it's different.
And Russia.
Well, my wife elected me to go by myself. So Russia was the runner-up last year to the water topic by a very close vote, and we were invited to bring it back. Many of us remember Russia was the big bad in James Bond movies, and we had this innate fear of Russia all of our lives, and it kind of went away with Glasnost and things like that. But with Putin basically installing himself as leader for life, he is creating some conflicts with the world, and especially with the US, that we really need to examine. Many of these, as far as being student-centered, many of the students that we deal with don't actually view Russia as an existential threat. Hasn't been until the last couple of elections, when they had election meddling and things like that, where Russia is really starting to kind of pound its chest again like a gorilla. And so we feel like the student will have some impact on their world. Russia, US relations will have impact on the world. This topic is very accessible to both novices and advanced students. It gives them a lot to start some real deep ground when they really dig into it. Additionally, it's also very accessible to all types of debate. If you want the standard type of debate, there's a lot of ground and evidence and ways to go about creating cases and negatives. If you want to have the more critical style debate, there's a lot of areas that you can go to with that. It's very balanced. There's a lot of literature on both sides, and it changes daily. Today, a quick Google search came up with several hundred fighting about the embassy in Russia that Biden needs to staff. And so there's a lot of evidence available on a daily basis. Additionally, the topic touches several of the other areas that we're going to talk about today. It can deal with China, rights, environment, things like that. A lot of the other topic areas can actually be met with Russia. So thank you.
Thank you. Treaties.
I feel like I should say, is anyone not ready?
Yeah.
My name is Lauren Ivy. I'm the director of debate at Alpharetta High School, and I wrote the treaties paper. The first major reason I think that you should strongly consider the treaties paper is that, like others have said, it's international and domestic. Students will learn about the domestic treaty process in the Senate. They will also learn about questions of international relations and how the U.S. engages with treaties. A major reason you should consider it is that treaties allow students to differentiate by interest. One of the things that I have learned in my over 10 years in the debate community is that we serve a really diverse group of students. Treaties allow students to prioritize learning about things that are interesting to them, so they can, for example, read an app they find is appealing to their side, while also asking them to have a working knowledge of the other treaties so that they can make arguments on both sides. There's excellent ground division. I won't name names, but there's been a couple past topics since I started coaching in 2013 that I felt like did not have great division between the AF and the NEG and were heavily biased for one side or the other. The way that I have written the treaty, that the AFs have to ratify the entire treaty, that allows negatives to read picks and other arguments and allows clear division of ground that doesn't lean one way or the other. Next, it's information that's not covered in schools. I don't know about you, but I certainly did not learn about the treaty ratification process. I also teach AP Gov, and we barely touch on it. I don't think this is something students are learning about, where other topics are things they might be more familiar with. There's great generic and specific arguments. I went through a very detailed explanation in the topic paper about some arguments on both sides that I don't have time to get into today. And lastly, I think the treaties paper subsumes some of the other topics as well. As I said before, if you're interested in a area, there's a treaty in the paper that you can learn about. So for example, if you want to learn about women's rights, I don't want to make them the enemy, but if you want to learn about the women's rights treaty, there's one in there. And so you wouldn't necessarily have to vote for a topic paper that covers that because it's all included in my treaty paper. Thanks so much.
United Nations Peacekeeping.
Okay, I am Ryan Neerman. I co-authored the paper with Ruth Kay. So when we were looking at our topic, we look back, we haven't had a United Nations paper since 2004, 2005, when we thought it was pretty successful. And we think a lot has changed over the last 20 years, in particular changes in administrations. The US has never been a huge supporter of United Nations peacekeeping. We're currently behind on our funding for them. We don't even make the top 10 list in any of the current 12 missions. There's a lot of ground to kind of step up. Now is the key time with the Biden-Harris administration in terms of kind of how do we look in the international arena to people? How do we kind of recapitalize on multilateralism, soft power, democracy? Where are we in other, involvement in other countries? So now kind of the great pivot point to getting to this topic that has both domestic and international play in terms of, Trump administration moving forward. And we think the topic's bigger than just the 12 current missions that are going on. We have revisiting failed missions, future missions. For example, Afghanistan is a big topic discussion, especially with the withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan right now. People think that the US going out alone was unsuccessful, and instead a UN peacekeeping operation would be a great moment. There things like cybersecurity peacekeeping, space peacekeeping, certain human rights abuse violations, either because of UN peacekeepers or their ability to kind of combat that, as well as, ways that we can deal with the pandemic or climate change. The UN has a huge kind of carbon footprint, especially on its missions, or the ability to kind of help electrify those areas in the fragile states allows for a wide range of kind of topic ground on both sides. A lot of people can have the UN good bad debate. The advantage good bad debate, is the UN the right actor debate. So on kind of an introductory level, you get to debate the novice level climate change pandemic stuff, but then you can really dive in a more diverse level, like process to involve on the Security Council. The US is one of 5 permanent members. So you can have more in-depth, is NGOs better counter plans, is process counter plans better. So I think there's a good balance of topic literature.
United Nations Standing Army.
I think the thing that sets my paper apart from all of the others, honestly, is that it is a genuine international actor paper. There was a lot of discussion at last year's meeting about international actors, and it is my opinion that if we cannot use the UN as an order, we probably can't debate international actors. And so I wrote the paper from that perspective. I believe that it is a student-centered topic because we do have students from all over the world, and we also have debate in other parts of the world that contribute to things like the National Speech and Debate Association. So it really is inclusive. It takes the focus off of the United States and yet remains accessible because UN documents are written in 6 major world languages. So for a Spanish language debate, which exists in some parts of the country, there is literature that covers that particular topic. I also think that looking at the United Nations from the perspective of whether it ought to or ought not have a standing army comes to a lot of the issues that were just discussed with respect to peacekeeping, except that with respect to the standing army, it's what should the UN actually be doing with its military operate in different parts of the world. And so for a lot of the same reasons that the previous speaker was talking about with respect to what should be done, failed missions, that sort of thing, those are all negative ground on my paper, because it suggests that the UN can't necessarily manage even a not standing army. So how could we possibly entrust the UN was so much more powerful, I guess. And that is, after all, one of the reasons why it doesn't have one at all, is because of the fear of an international body having too much power. From the perspective of being able to be addressed on both sides of the topic, a lot of the reasons why those failed missions probably failed are also affirmative, because the training was not there for the troops. The troops took too long to get there. Frankly, time frame is always a huge issue. And so it's balanced, it's interesting, it's topical, and I'm out of time. Thank you.
Our final paper is women's rights.
Hi, everyone. So I'm one of the co-authors for the women's rights paper, and I'm really excited to be presenting this to you today. I think that when we talk about student-centered, we have to be mindful of what students we're talking about. Are we talking about our students who are taking classes, who are at the highest of their levels, or are we trying to target students who might have lower reading levels, who might not necessarily be your traditional debater? And so that's where this paper really stems from, is targeting the students that are least forgotten in this activity. And so we feel that the women's rights paper provides interesting subject matter for our students that's accessible, right? A lot of students, women's rights and like have a lot to say, and I think this empowers their voices and empowers the voices of the students who haven't been necessarily represented in this activity, which I think is distinctly different from the rest of the topics that require students to have a higher level of academic attainment to actually be able to effectively debate on these topics. I think that it is also a balanced topic. For international disads, international counter plans, we bring back a consult counter plan. Not that I like that one, but it's still an option. And it allows for critical debate as well for students to really get into discussion about women's rights and who would be the effective actor for those things. And it's also interesting, from every level, there are children's books talking about, women's rights. And I think we have the first female vice president, and there's a lot of amazing things and a lot of also sadly dangerous things that are happening in the realm of women's rights that I think students really want to talk about now. And I think, in a post-COVID world, our students have a lot to say, and I think this is really going to hit home on what they want to talk about and increase recruitment for a lot of your students. I think that, I'm sure a lot of you probably have a male-dominated team, and I think, when it comes to recruitment for students, you're really going to get a more diverse team if you're able to bring a topic that puts a marginalized group first. So I would look forward to discussing this further. Thank you.
All right, now is the time that we discuss these topics in great detail. So we sent out the Marshall Subcommittee divisions about a week ago. And so hopefully you group you're in, groups 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah, I know.
If you, what's that?
I didn't mean to interrupt, but the Latin American stuff is not good.
So it did not.
Okay.
Yeah, the author has 3 rules.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that when we come back to the general session. Yep. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go for the Marshall. If you do not know your subcommittee assignment, you can find it on the website. If you do know your subcommittee, or you can ask me. Yes, ma'am.
What is on our printout, we have Geo-Patrick's BC.
Yeah, that's my bad. I thought they were numbers, but they're actually letters.
So yeah, group
So
1 is Geo-Patrick A.
Yeah.
Group 2 is Geo-Patrick. Go with what's on your computer, not what's there.
Yeah,
Got it.
it's actually not labeled yet. It's just labeled Geo-Patrick, and then there's 3 rooms. All right, so we'll spend 90 minutes. So the time right now is what time?
It's 20 minutes to 2.
Okay, so we will go ahead and spend a little bit more than your time, and we'll reconvene here at 3:45.
And there's still food out here, Chris.
And grab some food on your way in. Yes, you can leave everything you'd like in here. Now take your computer with you, though, if that's your paper. So yeah, 3:45.